Okay.
All right. But we gotta talk about some boxing. Let's kick it off. Boxing. AJ, you watched the fight. I watched the fight. You had Lamont Roach from Capitol Heights, from the DC area, go against Gervonta Davis, Tank from Baltimore. It was a battle of the Beltway, and they got into the ring, and it was a really good fight, but it was very controversy, right? A lot of people thought that Roach got robbed, but I want to hear your thoughts, AJ. Let the people know what was your reaction and recap of the fight.
Man. First off, let me just say, man, that fight had me on the edge of my seat, and I did not expect that whatsoever. One thing I noticed before the fight, Joe, Tank, I'm a big Tank fan. I've been a Tank fan since the very beginning. I just love how he fights, his punching power, his accuracy, his speed. I just love everything about Tank the boxer. But one thing I've always noticed, he likes to troll before the fight. He likes to intimidate boxers before the fights. The pre fights and all that stuff, the weigh-ins, all of that stuff. Like, it's always an intimidation factor with boxers. And this time around, I noticed there wasn't a lot of trolling. It wasn't a lot of pre-fight intimidation. Like, it wasn't a lot of that going on. And I kind of questioned that. Like, maybe he got a lot of respect for him. I know they came up, in the same amateur leagues, from my understanding, together and whatnot. So they know each other really well. Maybe it's just a mutual respect there. So they don't really want to troll each other. Maybe they rock with each other. Sometimes it's like that. You had Terrence Crawford and Spence. They really didn't troll each other. A little bit of trash talk, but it wasn't no crazy trolling. It didn't seem personal. Both fighters respected each other. So I'm thinking maybe this is the same thing. But I'm thinking at the end of the day, man, Tank, he gonna be Tank. Gonna get this man out of here middle of the 7th, 8th, at the latest by the end of the 9th. So I had a little something something to do earlier that day, but I got home, around, I think, the 3rd fight on the fight card, made me a drink, got me a little food. I'm like, I'm gonna just chill till this fight come on. Fight starts. Tank is being Tank, in my opinion, early on. I'm noticing little stuff early on, but I'm like, Tank, he gonna do what he do. He gonna pick it up round 6, round 7, and do what he gotta do. But Tank, he gotta come out, he gotta fill it out. That's what he do every fight. He don't throw a lot of punches. He comes out first couple rounds. He like to test the other fighter's punching power. He like to feel his way around the ring, try to see how the other boxer is going to attack him, figure out how to catch him, and then boom, I'm catching you the second half of the fight. I'm getting out of here, backflip. Let's see you later. I noticed, I forget what round it was, Joey. I think it was I want to say the 6th or the 7th round.
Okay, 7. Probably 7.
Okay, 7th round, he went to his corner. And I want to say he did this in the Ryan Garcia fight too. But he went to his corner and he said, I'm going to knock him out. I got him. I'm going to knock him out. I'm good. I'm going to knock him out. And like I said, I've seen him do this before. But leading up into that moment, even though I felt like Tank was being Tank, I wasn't as confident. I was confident, but I wasn't as confident, right? I'm like, okay, maybe he found something. He found something, right? And I feel like, for the people who don't know, I'm not a boxing analyst. So when I say this, understand this is coming from a fan's perspective, not from an actual boxing analysis perspective. But like, it felt like whatever he found in the first couple rounds, Roach knew he was going to find. And he just, every time he went to what he thought he found from that point forward, Roach had a counter. That's what it felt like to me. It's like, whatever you thought you had, you ain't really had that. And it completely caught him off guard. Counter after counter after counter in the second half of the fight. Man, Roach, I've never seen anyone tag Tank like that in the second half of a fight, ever. Ever. I have not seen that. I've never seen anyone come out in the second half of a fight and have Tank reeling the way Tank was reeling, to the point where round 12, I'm thinking, Tank might lose this fight. And I think the one thing that saved Tank in this fight is I do feel like he won a few of the earlier rounds. I don't think Roach completely, killed him the whole fight, completely dominated the fight. I do think Tank won some earlier rounds, but I think it really helped Tank that Tank was the champion. And as we all know, especially in boxing, sometimes in UFC as well, if you are the challenger and you don't dominate the person you're trying to take the belt from, then you're probably not going to win. If it's not a knockout, a TKO, or you don't win 9 of the 12 rounds in dominating fashion, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to get the win. If Roach was the guy, if Roach was the favorite, the champion, all of that, the A plus side of the fight, Roach wins this fight. But since he was the B side, since he was the challenger, I think he lost his fight. And the last thing I want to say is this, Joe. I know this is going to come up in our conversation. The whole knockdown that wasn't a knockdown. Oh, he took a knee. It should have been counted as a knockdown. I said this to you before, and I said this again. And this might sound silly to some, but it's just my opinion. I believe sometimes in sports there comes a moment where, yes, the rules are the rules. Don't get me wrong. The rules are the rules. But there are times where it's like, there's no need to call that. Prime example, I'll always go back to this. The Super Bowl between the Eagles and the Chiefs 2 years ago. Bradbury, game on the line. He holds Juju Smith-Schuster. They throw the flag. And it's like, bruh, Patrick Mahomes threw the ball 10, 15 yards ahead of the man, bro. You didn't have to throw that flag. And that literally determined the game at the very end, in my opinion. Yes, there was a lot of other factors that went into the game, but that determined the end of the game. In this fight, bro, if you go back and you watch the replay, I wish I had it. I should have actually put it up here. But if you go back and you watch that round, Tank ain't getting tagged. Tank is not getting hit. It's clear something going on with his eye. I don't know if it was grease or whatever the case may be. He takes the knee, runs to the corner, wipes off his face, and gets right back to the fight. I don't, as a boxing fan, just as a fan, from a fan's perspective, I don't mind that not being counted as a knockout. It's fine to say he lost a round. It's fine to dock him a few points, whatever the case may be. But to say that was a knockout or a knockdown just because he took a knee and ran to the corner and did what he did, I would have hated for the fight to have been determined because of that moment. That's just me as a fan. I know what the rules say. I know you go, Joe, the rules. I get it. I know. But as a fan, bro, I wasn't mad at it. And maybe it's because I was rooting for Tank. Maybe that's why. I was like, oh, okay, he good. Let's go. But like, as a fan, man, I didn't want the fight to be determined by a moment that I didn't think was a knockdown in general. But all in all, man, it was a great fight. I don't believe Roach was necessarily robbed because he didn't dominate the fight. But I do think that if he was the A-plus fighter, if he was on the A side, he'd have won the fight.
Mm-hmm. So I rewatched the fight and I scored it. All right. And I scored the fight. I had Lamont Roach. First of all, it was a great fight. I had Lamont Roach winning the first 2 rounds. Even though the first round was close, it could have went. Both rounds could have went either way, in my opinion. But I had him win the first 2. I had Tank winning 3 through 7, and I had Lamont winning 8 through 12. So I had, like, straight out, I had Lamont winning the fight 115-113. I had him winning that fight. Now,
unanimous decision?
Well, I'm the only judge, so yes.
Okay, right.
Yeah, right. So what I saw from Lamont Roach, what I haven't seen from the last 2 fights that I watched against Tank, which was Frank Martin and Ron Garcia, was that Ron Garcia and Frank Martin both tried to be aggressive early in the fight. And that's how it is, especially Frank Martin. Frank Martin, people watching that fight like, oh my gosh, Frank Martin is giving it to Gervonta a Tank. He's winning. And then next thing you know, bam, knockout. Lamont Roach was very patient early in the fight. And that's why I think Gervonta won a lot of those rounds, because although he was walking him the whole fight, like he was approaching Tank the whole fight. He wasn't backpedaling. It was Tank the one that was backpedaling, which I'm not saying he was running, but that was what it was. He was the one that was backpedaling. Roach was the one that was chasing him, but Roach wasn't throwing a lot of punches early. You could tell he was reading Tank the whole time. But then I thought he was gonna mention this. I think it was round 7 round 6. I think it was round 6 when Tank started talking. Tank started talking to him, right? Started talking, and then I could hear the commentator saying things like, "Oh, you can't talk back. You're getting in his head." And then, when you first watch the fight without knowing what the result gonna be, that's what you're thinking, right? You like, oh yeah, you tripping, like stay calm. And then Tank went to his corner and said, basically, they like, we got him, like keep talking. Right. They would tell him that, right? And then they came out the next round, and Lamont tagged him a couple of times, and he started talking. I'm like, okay, I'm watching this. I'm like, okay. So re-watching the fight again, I'm like, Lamont was focused the whole time. Never got out of his game plan. Never got. He literally kept proportional and being patient. And that when the second half of the fight came, he got a lot more aggressive. That throwing a lot more punches. And like I said, I had him winning 8-12, and round 7 was very close. Like I could have gave it to Lamont also in round 7, but it was so close. And the 9th round when he took the knee, I had Lamont winning that round also, right? Because Tank took that knee, came back out, and he got aggressive, but then Lamont tagged him. He countered right back and started hitting him, right? So it was a great fight. Now, with the knee situation, I do think that, like, if I'm the fighter, and if I'm a fighter in the ring, as a fan, like me and you, I get why you would say, let it be. Let's go to the Mahomes example, right? Mm-hmm. If I'm Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl that you brought up, and I see that Juju is getting held.
You want that flag?
I throw it. I don't throw it because I don't think Juju's going to catch it. I throw it because it's a flag. And they don't call it. I'm pissed. I'm heated. Because I would never threw that ball if you never caught the ball. That's the rule, right? Like, I get it as a fan. You don't want to see that happening. But that's the game. And that's how I feel. Because not only he took a knee, the refs start counting. And once you start counting, it's a knockdown. He said 1. He counted to 3, and then he stopped. And then Tank trying to explain, hey, I got grease in my head. I don't care. I told Artis, I don't care. You trying to bend down and take a knee to get $1 million. It's a knockdown. It is. I'm sorry, but I get it as in a fan perspective. You don't want it to go back in history and say, oh, he lost because of it. You know, I think it was Victor Ortiz. Yeah, Victor Ortiz. They mentioned in the broadcast too when he hit Floyd Mayweather with a low blow, and then and then they dapped up, and then after they dapped up, and the referee said, "All right, go." He tried to get Floyd like, "My bad," and then Floyd tagged him, and he dropped. It was a knockout. Nobody think about that's a W on Floyd Mayweather's record at the end of the day. And then Terrence Crawford brought it up. Floyd Mayweather hit, I forgot who the opponent was, hit somebody, broke his hand, and he hit him, and then he just took a knee, and it was a knockdown. So that's why I felt like it should have been a knockdown, because it ended up being a draw. The fact that it was a draw and the knockdown could have been called, I do feel like he was robbed. But that's boxing for you. People get robbed all the time boxing. All I can say is they need to have this rematch. They need to do it again. I know Tank came in the ring and said, I'm not sure when. But then he's going back and forth with him on Twitter and all that stuff. I know people say, "Oh, it's gonna happen." I don't know. I gotta see it to believe it. This is boxing we talking about. This ain't UFC. Nobody's forced to fight nobody. And that was a close fight for Tank. Do we really think Tank? If Tank, I hope he goes back in the ring next and fight him. But he was talking about contemplating on retirement and all the other stuff. Is he really gonna fight Lamont Roach again? So hopefully he does. I think Lamont earned the right to have another shot at this fight because it was a draw. But at the end of the day, though, it was an awesome fight. It was a great fight.
Yeah, it was a great fight. A couple of things I want to say, though. First off, Tank has to. I don't think he has a choice. He got to fight Roach again. Like, you can't let that draw sit on your record and not go back and rematch that, bro. Like, him being the caliber fighter that he is, he got to run that back. And then after that, he needs to take in my opinion, he needs to be, okay, Stevenson, where you at? Okay, Haney, are you ready to fight Garcia? You want your rematch? Like, it's time to pick those fights back up again. I heard him say after the fight that, at this point, I'm thinking, maybe I got a few more fights left in me. You know what I mean? After this, I think this fight, if anything, woke him up. Like, all right, bro, like I got to get back active. I got to get back to it. I still have some things to prove. Whereas it felt like going into this fight, it didn't seem like he felt like he had anything to prove, which is why he was thinking about retirement. But I want to say this. I thought about that, right? The Mahomes thing, I get, because he strategically threw the ball in that area to try to get the flag. So I understand him being like, yo, I strategically did that to get the flag. But and I'm not a boxer, but I would like to think from an athlete's perspective or from a boxer's perspective in that moment, yes, Lamont Roach wants to win the fight, but that's how you want to knock down, bro. Like, I get it, I understand, but you ain't hit him to knock him down. It'd be one thing if you got a punch in, you like, oh, I know I hit him that hard, but I think I caught him and he legit went down for a moment. But it's clear you did nothing to hurt him. I feel like as an athlete or as a boxer, I will be like, yeah, sure, I would take it, but it's not something I would be like, man, that should have been a knockdown. That should have been this. Like I saw him after the fight. Man, I win the fight if they give me that knockdown. It's like, bro, but you know you didn't do no damage to earn no knockdown in that situation. I get it, it's the rules, but come on, bro. You a boxer, bro. You didn't put him on his, you ain't put him on his backside. You didn't really put him on the knee. He did that himself. That's that. And the Floyd thing. I heard you bring this up before. I gotta respond to it, bro. The Floyd situation, first off, it was very controversial. People was talking about that after the fight in similar ways. But this situation was different because right after the low blow, I think it was a low blow and like a shoulder check, he kept on hitting Floyd with, similar to what Tank hit Roach with.
Exactly.
Like that shoulder check.
That. Go ahead.
That shoulder check he hit Roach with. But after that, Floyd literally knocked him out. Like it was like, it was not only was it like obviously the rule of like the unwritten rule, I believe it's like, you know, protect yourself at all times. That's the obvious one. Just like you don't take a knee and not expect for it to be counted as a knockdown. Yeah. But it was also like, but he legit knocked you out though.
What are we gonna do about it? He got knocked out.
Yeah, you can't. You literally can't do nothing about that. Like he couldn't make the 10 count. So it's not like they was like, okay, we're gonna give you 20 seconds. We're gonna give you 20 seconds to get up because we don't think we feel like that was a cheap shot. It's like, no, bro, we're gonna give you 10 seconds, and bro was done. So I feel like the situations are different. But I feel like going through, we watching a fight, looking at the numbers. I think that when you first watch the fight, you slant your opinion to Roach. I think on the second rewatch and looking at the numbers, I feel like it's a lot closer than what it appeared to be watching it live. And I think we feel that way watching it live because we're so used to Tank dominating fights. We're so used, at least I am, so used to him dominating fights the second half of a fight that when he doesn't dominate the second half of a fight, it's like, yo, what are we watching? But at the end of the day, because he was in the position that he was in, I don't, unless your stance, which it is, Joe, unless your stance is like Joe's, that's a knockdown. And that's one of the reasons why I believe he got robbed. Then I understand. But if your stance is similar to mine, which I've seen people have stances like me, that's like, bro, well, come on, bro, that's not really a knockdown. Then I can't say he got robbed because I don't think he did enough, bro. To beat the champ, you gotta dominate. Like them belts ain't gonna change like that from a guy like Tank or a guy like Money Mayweather or a guy like Haney or a guy like Stevenson unless you dominate. And I don't think Roach dominated the fight. I think he had great moments. I think he won some rounds. I think he gave Tank maybe his toughest challenge yet for sure. But can I say he dominated the fight? I just didn't feel that way. I didn't feel that way.
I respect that.
They got to run this back though. They absolutely got to run this back.
I definitely respect that. And you know, coming from if you were in Lamont's corner, the dude, you know, shoulder check, like you said, he's being a little dirty, talking to you the whole time, and then he pulls that off, and it's not counting as a knockdown. You kind of like, nah, bro, I ain't letting none. And it's for a unified championship, like, nah, we don't want to walk away with a draw, you know. So I get it from that perspective, though. Like, if you're the champ, you gotta beat If you want to take my belt and I'm undefeated, you want to put an L on my record, actually give me an L. You don't want no controversy. You want like a straight up, yeah, he won.
He got me. It's not even close. He got me, which is a lot of times how we see champions lose. So,
fact.
But, Joe, got to move.